Hi. Um, so, Someone on TikTok told me once to write everything, so I'm writing everything. The current mentor that I'm following is Matthew McConaughey. He's doing a program with Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins regarding going in the right direction in life, trying to make decisions and stuff, life regrets, learning, depression, and stuff. I am going to get a refund just because I can't afford the program. But it's a really great program because they give you the full program and they give you a booklet and stuff, and you just write notes, right? So this is my cool little, you know, 20 preteen book that I got because I wasn't feeling too great yesterday. But it's a really great program, right? Some of the past people that I really looked up to um, is Nick Sanatosis. He's a dude that was born with no legs, one arm, and he had another arm, but he cut it off to wrestle and stuff, right? The guy's really successful, and he's like the nicest person. I met him on a Zoom call. Nicest person in general. I can't understand. A lot of these people are missing limbs, right? And I can't understand how they're so happy, right? But they've had their whole lives to deal with the anger of physically looking different, right? So Nick Sanatosis, from what I've seen from Instagram and stuff, his girlfriend looks like a really nice person as well, but he is like the most humble person, right? Nick Vivacek is someone that I followed from the early 2010s when I was really depressed, and I just followed that guy's career, right? So he had a couple of kids. He's missing all his limbs. I've never met him before, and he's a Christian in general. Um, just gives hope to everyone and stuff. Has like a couple of kids and this beautiful wife, right? So his story is really interesting as well. But this was when I was losing all hope in the early 2010s. Lizzie Venezuela, she's very skinny. She has some type of eating disease where she can't gain weight. I looked into her as well. She had she had a a TEDx video on beauty and accepting yourself, and very humble. I've never met her before, but just really, you look at the video and you're like, if she can do it, why can't I, right? Shelly Ann Sidhu, I got to meet her way back in the 2010s and such. And I remember when I was really suicidal and stuff, her community was providing support on Facebook for people with depression and stuff, right? And this is when social media first came out, right? So people were still in the 90s and 2000 frame, like the anxiety of social media hadn't really developed yet. But her group really helped me out with just suicidal thoughts, right? And her story is due to a lab accident, she lost her vision and she couldn't use her hands at the time, right? I don't know about now. I think she's married, has a house, and has a kid. And I remember when I saw her at an event once or twice, she was wearing a blouse with like 200 buttons and she can't use her hands, right? So I thought that was like badass, right? So I do follow her and stuff, and she's grown from where she was before. I think that's pretty cool. Crystal Ann Morissette, she helped me a lot with trauma from 2015 and onwards. Helped me a great deal. I met her in person. She's the same person she is online that she is on person. And my mom got to meet her too. Like, really amazing person, really humble, and for all that she's been through, she's just happy. Like, she's very peaceful and she's a really amazing person, right? So Mel Robbins, someone I followed, she kind of believes in imperfection and not being perfect, and I didn't follow her too much in general, right? But I used to get her newsletters and stuff. Brendan Bouchard, I met on a Zoom call a couple of times, and he's more about structure and planning ahead of time, right? So I could never do that due to my memory, right? So I can remember one day at a time. I'll go into that further, but I could never plan. So I have other people plan for me, even though plans don't always go correctly, right? And you have to put in your share when it comes to a long-term plan, right? So He's about perfection and structure. That's what I got from him. Everyone can get something totally different from these mentors. John Affleck's I followed in 2015 when I was really trying to follow structure and being in control of all my emotions and stuff. And his mom had schizophrenia and she passed away and stuff, right? But I realize he's about money too, exponential growth and abundance when it comes to money as well. Met him on a Zoom call. Dude's really nice and stuff. And yeah, like I can't control all my emotions because I actually have a disorder, right? So that's couldn't do that. Some schizo. I'll talk about that in another video. Sonia Riccati, I met her when she was just starting out in general. Law of attraction, abundance, unconditional love, and stuff. She's a really nice person as well. And she started the magic movement, to be honest. Someone who started the breathing movement is Prowski, Dr. Prowski, Dr. Jonathan Prowski. I got to meet him in the early 2000s, I think even late 2000s. He was a naturopathic doctor with a psychiatric background or a psychologist background at the Canadian School of Naturopathy in Toronto on the Danforth and stuff. But really nice guy. I haven't talked to him in years. Who else? Sam Cawthorn. That's the guy I followed. He's from Australia. And I followed him way back in the day because he got into a car accident and he lost his arm, right? So he had a lot of community support. And I remember being so bitter back in the early 2010s because when I had, my life-changing thing, I didn't really have support. And luckily I do now because you grow from everything, right? You really grow from everything, right? But at the time I was really bitter. But Sam Cawthorn, he does a lot of speeches. He has a mechanical arm. I haven't followed him in a while, but really happy dude. And I followed that he talks to Nick Vujicic. There's Tali Osborne. I went to high school with her. I don't think she remembers me, but I remember reading stories about her in The Sun. And I followed her into when she worked for Virgin Telephone in general. She used to she did like amazing things, but she had a lot of vigor, and I could relate to her story more because she had a lot of anger, right? A lot of these people with missing limbs don't have any anger. They're totally peaceful and stuff, and I don't get it, right? But her scooter got stolen and stuff. But the thing that I find really amazing about Tali Osborne is that she's grateful for everything that happened in her life, right? I couldn't understand that, but she's married, has stepkids and stuff. And I wrote this somewhere, I forgot where, I wrote this in a support group. But I always thought to be successful, you have to have a husband and kids in a house, right? And be pregnant or something, right? I'm learning now that maybe that's not my path, right? I know a lot of people who are my age who are not married and they have completely different lives, right? So I'm learning maybe I don't have to have all those things like these guys do in order to feel good about myself, right? So I followed her for a while, but she's got attitude, which I like. I think she's got a lot of spunk, and I haven't followed her for a while. Then there's Tony Robbins and stuff, and everyone's done this who got into some kind of mental health, crisis in the early 2000s, right? Because at the time there wasn't a lot of information regarding mental health in the 90s and in the 2000s, so a lot of people went to the libraries or they looked into self-growth programs and a lot of books on depression and manic depression and all that kind of stuff. But I remember I went to Chikuzi Library. I've been going there since I was a kid. And he had a lot of tapes, like cassettes and stuff, and people would, copy his tapes, like re-record over them. And his tapes were so used in general that you could only get a couple of words, so you had to kind of really figure out what he was saying and stuff. I don't understand this, and I think this is another professional speaker, but he didn't really make it, so it can't be that important, right? So Tony Robbins, I followed. He was really happy and go lucky in the 2000s, and then he became really bitter. And I think it's because no one listened to him, right? So he did the I'm not your guru thing a couple of years ago, many years ago probably. But he's always, he's like the pinnacle, right? that guy is always on top of things, right? So I don't really follow him too much in general, but I followed him since my 20s, right? So there's Unstoppable Tracy, and I got to meet her at a Speaker Slam event. She's missing a couple of limbs. She wrote a book. She travels. I saw that she went to Egypt. She travels by car, and I can't even do that. And, like, I really believe that as long as you have your mind, you're okay. And I have trouble with my mind, right? Even though I've met people, I can go into another video regarding that. But yeah, as long as you have your mind, you have everything you need, right, to figure things out, right? That's what I learned from a lot of people with missing limbs, right? So Jonathan Andrews is someone that I followed from when he was 19 or so, and then something really horrible happened to him, and I don't know what happened to him, but he wrote a book that I gave to my brother in general, and I need to get a copy myself because my brother won't give me his copy back. But he's really inspirational too, and I hope he's doing well. Nina Ganguly is someone I know and stuff, and her story is really inspirational. She always posts these great videos and stuff, but her backstory is like she's so happy and joyful, and she travels, right? So she's a really great person. Shelly Buller is my chiropractor and stuff, really graceful, deals with pressure really, really well in general, and I think she's an amazing person too. That's all I have so far, but those are the people that I look up to. Dean Graziosi, I don't know too much, but in his videos, he looks like he's always looking for people's attention and love. Until you actually look at the mastermind program that they have, then he actually acts like himself, right? So I don't really get that guy too much. But Matthew McConaughey, great program and stuff. I don't know who else can relate to this, but depending on where you are in life and stuff, these are the people I followed, right? Over the years, over the last 10, 20 years or so, right? So in my 20s, it was more like books. And in my 30s, it was like online everything, right? Last time I could read a book was, I think, in the early 2010s. But books are books, right? You write in the columns, it's a book, right? What else did I want to say? There are great places to concentrate, and I've been finding them around the city. The keyboard thing is not working out because I'm really stressed out this month. And I don't realize how lucky I am, right? I don't really realize how lucky I am compared to a lot of people from a lot of different places and stuff, right? Like, I complain about certain things, but I have things that a lot of people don't, right? And my job counselor today was telling me to be very aware of things that I post on public platforms. And I could be totally wrong about where it's coming from and who it is, right? But you just delete and leave, right? So, and I realize when someone hates you or they're making fun of you or something, it's either because you have something that they don't have, or you can be someone that they can't be, right? Or you're taking for granted something that, they wouldn't take for granted, right? So I'm trying to learn to be more thankful for stuff. And Brendon Burchard has a great online journal called Growth Day. That's really great for that. But yeah, it's within the budget, right? So the Matthew McConaughey program, I am going to get a refund after I look at the entire program. So yeah, being really smart regarding what I post where. But yeah, so regarding, for me, it's trauma, environment, and body. I know someone, or I met someone a long time ago who had gone through a lot of crap in his life, and he was strong as shit. Like, I didn't understand how, right? Like, I'm very, very weak. I'm so weak in general, right? So I'm trying to figure out, for me, it's an environmental factor, even though where I live is great in general. A lot of history in certain places, which is great. It's a sense of home. It's really a sense of home in certain places, right? But for me, it's environment, exercise, trying to prevent things, right? Which I'm being told consistently on Instagram, right? So I haven't had the money yet. I know that's not an excuse. I just don't use those limbs and stuff. But yeah, it's trying to prevent things before they get worse, right? So not at a crisis stage. I learned from last year things that I could have done that could have made January till now a lot smoother. If I had just done a couple of things that I've corrected in general, no offense to anyone, but January till now it could have been a lot smoother. And I also realized that life isn't like Facebook where you can just leave one group, go to another group, and just be a totally different person, right? I met a lot of people from January till now, and it's been a learning curve too. It's really been a learning curve, right? So it's just kind of like I can't forget people. And sometimes, when you want to do things by yourself, people really do want to help, but you're so used to being tunnel vision and I got to do this, I got to do this. Screw everyone. It doesn't have to be like that, right? People want to be appreciated and stuff. And I got to go back to certain places because I've become like a zombie compared to last year, right? Become like a total zombie. But I'm extremely lucky than a lot of people, right? So I have to be grateful. Don't mention it too much. And because some people get sad, some people get really sad and stuff. And then some people get kind of jealous, right? And then that's where the screenshots and all the crap goes through. Like it's a combination for me, body, environment, and trauma, right? So a lot of these things, law of attraction, magics on your Riccati, trauma, Crystal Andres Morissette, breathing, Jonathan Browski, right? So, yeah. Anyhow, so I think that's all I have today. I also noticed that in a lot of service groups, service-based jobs where people are getting yelled at constantly, when you yell at them, it's almost like they get off on it, right? It's weird, right? I've learned that, kindness works definitely, right? For me, I need medication for kindness, right? A lot of people can do that on their own, do yoga, something like that, but for me, I need the medication, right? So I see doctors and I adjust according to what they're telling me because they know better, right? So I really think patience and stuff, it's a process, right? So in real life, it's like a daily process. And what I'm learning, what I think is a struggle for me is no big deal, compared to the people that I've been meeting. It is not a big deal compared to what other people are going through and what struggle, hard work, and all that stuff is. I'm learning from a lot of different people what I should do in life, which I'm not doing. And I'm learning where to put a priority to, right? Where to definitely put a priority to. So, the battery's going to go out. But that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.